Hey everyone, it's Konrad Bobilak here, CEO of Investors Prime Real Estate and best-selling author of Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Welcome to today's video on apartments. There's been a lot of talk about apartments, and look, I think apartments are here to stay. Definitely there is a need for them, especially in key suburbs where prices are so astronomically high for detached houses and townhouses that it's either you live in an apartment or you don't live in a suburb at all. The question is though, not one of functionality and livability. The question is, can we make money out of buying apartments right now? Is this the bottom of the market? And if it is the bottom of the market, what kind of a floor plan, what kind of an apartment development should we look out for? And what kind of an apartment development should we avoid? That's exactly what I'm going to answer in today's video. So welcome, and I hope you enjoyed. Hope you stay to the very end. Let's get started. Bit of a personal disclaimer. I'm not going to insult intelligence and make any assertions that you're going to become a millionaire by following anything that I say. But I guarantee you one thing, if you don't take action and you don't do anything, you're going to retire dead broke at 65, asset rich, cash flow poor. And I guarantee that. That's a guarantee. You can take me all the way to the bank. Why should you listen to me? For those who haven't heard me speak before, I started off doing diploma of financial planning, working in Australian funds management. I worked in financial planning, mortgage broking, private banking, medfin. Now I'm a real estate agent for the last nearly 10 years. I run a company called Investors Prime Real Estate. The most important thing is that I'm actually an investor myself in Melbourne with a multi-million-dollar property portfolio. I'm sourcing properties every day for investors, talking to valuers, agents, going to auctions, going to opens, talking to developers, builders. So I've got my finger on the Melbourne property market pulse very much so on a daily basis. So I know exactly what's happening here, virtually in every suburb. And so I'm going to share with you some ideas about what I think is happening right now in different sectors, especially in the apartment market sector. By the way, if you want to get a copy of my finance book, just jump onto bookonfinance.com.au, $29.95, and my best-selling book on real estate investing, realestateMadeSimple.com.au, or any good bookshop, Amazon, eBay, anywhere pretty much. Also want to thank you guys for making both books #1 bestsellers multiple times on Amazon. In fact, many times I've been in the top 10 for both books, which is really cool. So I want to thank you guys for supporting me and buying my books. And just keep reading, keep educating yourself, and keep making money. And I love to hear emails and messages from you guys. If you had a success as a result of reading my book, by all means, feel free to drop me an email, give me a call. I love to hear success stories. Now, let's get into it. Generally speaking, you know that if you've listened to my other videos on property investing on YouTube, and also if you've been to live events, I really don't like apartments very much in terms of a money-making exercise. I think there's merits in some specific types of apartments in terms of location and floor plan as a functionality for people to live in. But in terms of making money, which is all we're doing on this channel is not about bagging suburbs or making suburbs sound better than they are. My objective on this channel is to teach you the tools, the fundamental rules of how to make money out of real estate investing. Then you take the money and then you can buy anything you like. So if you're into 3-bedroom penthouses or apartments overlooking the ocean or the mountains, or in Toorak or Brighton, you can do whatever you like with the money. But you've got to make the money first. So property is just a vehicle to get you from A to B. And remember, every time you invest in a property, there's an opportunity cost of not investing in another property. So the question always arises, is it better to buy an apartment or a townhouse or a detached house in the same suburb? And even when you're looking at detached houses, is it better to buy an old house on a big block that you can renovate, or a new house on a new block that's been subdivided, or what do you do? And these are all the options we're going to be discussing throughout the various videos. Today, focusing specifically on apartments. Now, here's some facts for you in the last 2 years. And the last 2 years really has been an abnormality in terms of what's happening in Melbourne with the lockdowns. We were locked down more than any other city in Australia. And as such, apartments has really suffered during that period of time because people were trapped on balconies, basically. Everyone wanted a backyard during the lockdown. I live on a massive property in the eastern suburbs, huge backyard, huge gym, huge pool. I was super comfortable, guys, during the lockdown. I wasn't complaining at all. I was still doing powerlifting 6 days a week, still having my, jumping in the pool in the summer, having parties till all hours of the morning. It was amazing. I really didn't, I feel guilty, but I really didn't suffer during the lockdown at all. But a lot of people did. A lot of people did it hard, and it is what it is. Apartments especially have lost their shine, I guess, because of this restrictive amount of space you have that's external. In fact, one type of property has barely gone up in value despite the Australian record housing boom, and it's a lesson for every first home buyer. One-bedroom apartment prices has hardly rose in 2021 despite the property boom. So we had a boom, now we're in a downturn, and I'll cover property cycles on another video where we are in the property cycle. Melbourne's median price for one-bedroom apartment flat has unchanged at $395,000. Sydney's equivalent midpoint apartments went up just by 6.6% annually, which is still really bad compared to Sydney going up 21% for all other properties. So really one-bedders are like trying to sell ice to Eskimos. Guys, if you're going to buy a one-bedder for $365,000, you might as well go Bendigo, Ballarat and just buy a Victorian property for $360,000. No one wants one-bedroom apartments, especially in high-density buildings. It's just the most ridiculous investment you can ever make, okay? Just forget about it. Just don't buy them, okay? I don't care if it's a studio, a one-bedroom that's 55 square meters. It's a disaster. As you can see, they've missed out on capital growth completely. In Melbourne, the median price for one-bedroom unit remained flat over the year. $395 as the city was kept in lockdown for many months. By comparison, midpoint house prices in the same city rose 18.6% to $1,101,000. So houses went up, right, by 18.6%. That's a lot. I mean, that is a lot of money, right? For every 100,000, that's $18,000 in growth. And yet for one-bedders, nothing has happened. Apartments in general still had a lecture with year with two-bedroom units in Melbourne going up by 4.5%. So 4.5 is still pretty low at $606,000. It's barely keeping up with inflation. I mean, long-term inflation is around 3.5%. Really, you can't make money. You can't grow your portfolio and expect to get equity out of properties if they're going at 4.5%. Larger three-bedroom units, which is a completely different market, by the way, did better with values rising by 12.1% over the year to $846,250. So three-bedders are what you focus on with apartments. And I'll talk about different floor plans and layouts later on in the video. Three bedrooms is what you want. In fact, I would argue that right now is kind of the bottom of the market. And with everything going so negative, with interest rates going up, and I'll do another video on interest rates by themselves and inflation, negative consumer sentiment, lending restrictions being imposed on the various markets and industries, it's probably a good time now to make offers on apartments with views that can't be built out that are three-bedroom apartments, or all the Art Deco apartments with a large land component, especially on the ground floor, or where there's a whole complex, and there's only a few of them in the complex, like 10 or 12 or 15. Inner city areas of the Victorian capital had some of Australia's highest rental vacancy rates during the earlier stages of the pandemic, after the borders were closed for foreigners. So Dockland South Bank, guys, they're a ghost town. No one still lives there. You're always gambling for this international student, international tourist person that's going to come over and rent your property. They failed miserably, guys. Docklands and South Bank is a spectacular failure in Melbourne. There's no community feeling in those buildings. No one knows anyone. No one talks to anyone. People have their own separate lives. It's a complete disaster from a functionality perspective. And then from a resale perspective, it's just selling ice to Eskimos. No one wants those properties. So that's why the gap between Melbourne houses and apartments has become wider and wider. Because remember, in 2007, the median price for the average apartment was about $300,000. For a house, it was about $380,000, let's say $400,000. Now the gap is $610,000 for apartments, $929,000 for houses. The gap now is 52.4%, guys. It's huge. And the gap is getting wider and wider. Now, eventually, in some suburbs, and I'll show you the exact formula, that gap will shrink to some extent. So you just got to be very discerning about where you pick and what you buy. House prices rise by 16% over 21 and 22 CBA forecasts. Remember, one of the things I'll talk about forecasting, guys, is most of the time they get it wrong. Okay, my forecast for the next 12 months is most of the experts, the banks, the economists will be completely wrong. Too many variables. And it really doesn't make a difference because it's timing in the market, not timing of the market that makes you money. Australian property prices could rise further when lending laws are relaxed, experts say. So this is the problem with these apartments, right? The problem is, number one, most of them were sold overseas to Singapore. They can't sell them here, number one. Forget it. There's no local demand for these apartments. So then they go to Singapore, Malaysia, where people tend to live in high density apartments, because people think around the world, whatever they experience is what everyone experiences everywhere else in any other country. Right? So people in Japan live in apartments, they think everyone lives in apartments, which is actually not true. Most people don't live in apartments in Australia. We don't like apartments. We prefer detached houses and townhouses. So the problem is they go and sell them overseas. Now, when overseas people buy these properties, they don't actually rent them out. They keep them vacant because if you're a millionaire in China with $150 million net worth and you want to park a couple of $1 million in Melbourne, and you buy a couple of these 2-bedders and 3-bedders, do you really care about the rental coming in? Number one, no. Number two, they don't want to disturb the energy of the property. So most of these properties are empty. Some of these towers are 80% empty. These apartments have never been opened since they were settled originally, which is crazy. And because of that, there's no feeling of community. No one wants to live there. And because of that, the penthouses, which were targeted for the wealthy people, never get sold. It's very rarely that wealthy people move into those properties. If they do move in, they never live there because if they're really wealthy, they just keep traveling around the world. So they're always empty. So this whole thing is these are eerie, empty, monolithic structures that have no functionality and no resale value and virtually no investment grading. It's just virtually zero with massive restrictions. And this is why the gap between houses and units have widened so much. So you can see December the 20th here, 936,000 for a house. And if you look at, in terms of apartments, 569,677, which is a huge gap. And it's getting wider and wider. And that's one of the issues. Units and house prices gulf widens in two-speed Melbourne property market. So you can see that once again, the price gulf between detached housing units in Melbourne has widened sharply after the median price of standalone residents in the city surged by 3,600 a week during the last 3 months of 2020. And then he talks about the division between them of 52%, which is huge. And so it also relates to rents being very much inequality between houses, townhouses and apartments. So rentals have suffered because of the huge vacancy rates. I mean, you've got hundreds of apartments empty in Melbourne that are available for rent that no one wants to live inside because they're ghost towers. And then you've got the houses and detached houses and townhouses and terrace homes and villa units in the coastal towns where there's a critical shortage of stock. I mean, vacancy rates at the moment in the Bayside are 0.7%, 0.9%, less than 1%. It's crazy. I mean, people can't get rentals. Not only that, you've probably seen stories in Current Affairs and, different networks where working families who've been living in the rental property for a long time are suddenly getting evicted for whatever reason. Could be a deceased estate, it could be a divorce. And now they're going out and, competing with 60 other applicants for rent, and they can't get back into the market. They're getting completely priced out of the rental market, or because they might not be the best candidates for the rental market. And they end up living in tents and cars. I mean, it's crazy. Just so the normal vacancy rate for a normal suburb should be 4.5%, 5%. It should be 60, 70 properties on the market every week in every suburb. There's suburbs in Melbourne, if you go to realestate.com right now, and type in, for example, Ormond, McKinnon, Windsor, or Caulfield, or if you go to Bayside, like Brighton, East, Hampton, Sandringham, where there's 6 houses on the market or 7 townhouses. I mean, it's just insane. Good for investors, bad for people trying to get into the market, basically. So rent has also suffered. Melbourne apartments are a huge issue and problem, not only structurally, which I haven't even covered yet, but from a volume perspective and from a low build quality perspective, it's just appalling what's happened to Melbourne. They're just building rubbish out there, especially Central Equity, just tower after tower of 1-bedders. God knows who's going to be living in them, and they just look the same and they're all ugly. And they're identical. There's hundreds of these properties per tower. If you look at, and that's why for Star Wars fans, you probably understand this, is a trap. These are some of the towers that are planned to be built in the Melbourne Central Business District. There's 6,000 apartments being built right now. There's 63,000 being planned to be built in Melbourne. It's insane. These blue structures represent future buildings. Now, some of them have recently been put on hold because they couldn't get pre-sales, and the banks are becoming very conservative in lending money now for construction for high-density towers because of the big builders that went under in Queensland, in Melbourne, in Sydney in the last few weeks. Having said that, the market will change again, guys. This is not something that's going to be playing out indefinitely. The market is cyclical in nature. The market will recover on the back of migration, inflation will go down, and you're going to see a resurgence in demand for properties because we've got massive population growth. Remember, Melbourne population growth by 2056 will be 8.4 million people. There's 3.3 million people moving to Melbourne in the next, 30 years or so, 32 years, let's call it. Where are they going to be living? 3.3 million people. Do you know how many properties that is? It's insane. How can you build 3 million properties? We haven't got the infrastructure, the roads to do that. Now, yes, it's going to be families as well, so let's cut that in half. It's still 1.5 million buildings. I mean, that's like, there's going to be a deficit of 150,000, 200,000 properties per year to even cater for that. So the city is going to be built up. Now, from a city perspective, from an investment perspective, it's a disaster. Don't ever invest in the Central Business District in Melbourne. It's a complete disaster. From a functionality perspective, I love the fact we're building all these buildings. Okay, so there's two things there. One is me as a Melburnian. Yeah, build up, go up, build the tallest buildings in the world. The more restaurants, the better. I love it. I love it. Keep going. I'll never put my money into them though. Now, the problem is this. Let's say, for example, you're buying into Little Lonsdale Street, number 1. There's 212 apartments, right? 27 levels. So you've bought into a boutique development and you got a pool, you got a gym, and let's say you got a 2-bedroom, 60 square meter apartment. Number 2 comes along, all right, in Little Lonsdale Street, just a little further down. They know they've got to compete with this tower and let's say this tower here. So what they do is they build a bigger gym than yours, better quality restaurants, better swimming pool, tennis courts, right? Maybe throw in some office space. And instead of 60 square meter 2-bedders, they're doing 65 square meter 2-bedders. Aren't you now not only competing with everyone in your tower, but also you're competing with everyone here? And there's 504 apartments being planned for this tower there. Do you see what they do? Every time they create a tower, in order to make themselves a point of difference, they put more bells and whistles into those towers. They put better swimming pools, better gymnasiums, better areas where you can chill out, like a common living room area. They have boardrooms now you can rent out for dinners, rooftop barbecue areas. They're getting more and more creative. They've got private garden areas now. I mean, it's just becoming more and more elaborate. And look at New York City, what's happening in Manhattan. It's going to happen, or it's already happening in Melbourne. You know, we can't just keep creating this same boring product over and over. Having said that, think about the competition, guys. Every time they build a better tower, and just number 5, by the way, number 5 has 2,994 apartments being built here. Think about how much competition you have between every property. And everyone wants to live on the outskirts of the city, not inside the Central Business District themselves. You know, this is what they're doing in Melbourne. So from an investment perspective, don't touch it. From a functionality perspective, yeah, puts Melbourne on the map. Absolutely. Build away, my friends, build away. And this is why lenders know about this, and this is why they blacklist these postcodes. So in Melbourne, for example, you have Victoria 3000 postcode blacklisted for lending, which means you can only go 80% LVR, which means that even if the market's hot, you will always have 20% equity locked up in that property. You'll never be able to get all your equity out to go again. Now, you want to go at least to 90%, 92 or 95 with cashing out properties because you want to be buying as many properties as you can, as often as you can. Personally, having 20% locked up equity in the property at the best of times is the worst option you can make from a finance perspective. So you have no capital growth, you've got a product that you can't sell to Eskimos, and the lenders are telling you not to invest there. Think about it. Everyone's telling you not to buy these properties. Melbourne 3004, Melbourne 3005, World Trade Center, South Bank, South Yarra, Docklands, South Melbourne. Now, South Melbourne's really good for townhouses and houses, okay, but not apartments. because townhouses and houses have the land component. Apartments are on top of each other. They're in air, the space on top of each other. There is no scarcity. So if you're going to be buying apartments, you've got to have a 3-to-1 ratio between a 2-bedroom, which is the most average build apartment, and a detached house in the suburbs. So for example, and the bigger the ratio gap, the more price pressure and capital growth you're going to have on the apartments. So these are the best suburbs in Melbourne to buy apartments, 2 or 3 bedroom only right now, okay? Toorak, median price for detached houses, 4.18 million. The average 2-bedder there is 950. The gap is 3.2 million. But have a look at the ratio. It's 4-to-1 virtually. 4 2-bedders for the price of one house. So if you have virtually, it's a different market. That's what I'm trying to get at. So you either have $1 million you can buy an apartment, or you haven't got $4 million to spend. So those people that can spend $950 are going to be living in Toorak. They will never live in Toorak because they can't afford the house. And they'll probably never be able to buy a house for $4 million in their lifetime. They'll never get the finance. Brighton, 2.8 million median price, 970 for an average apartment, $1.9 million gap. Malvern, 2.3 million, which is the median price, 660. See, Melbourne does much more high density, lower spec properties than Brighton and Toorak because there's less rich people there, especially on main roads, and a lot of younger people. So 660, how many times does 660 go into? 2.3, nearly 4 times. So you got a 4-to-1 ratio there in the price differential. The gap is 1.7. Baldwin, 2.18 median price, 630 for the average apartment, 1.5 million gap, right? So also 3-to-1 ratio. Hawthorne, 2.1 versus 600, 3-to-1 ratio. Kew, 2.1 versus 734, 3 times ratio. Hawthorne East, 1.995, 630, 3-to-1. Glen Iris, great area, 2,050,000 for houses, 687 for apartments, 3-to-1 ratio. Elsternwick and Armadale. So if you want to buy apartments in Melbourne, these are the best suburbs to target right now, and you want to make sure that you're buying the lower the density, the better, especially on the ground floor with courtyards. And then you can actually get some results. Now, the question is always, is the volume of what's being built and market supply and demand, DSR ratios, all that kind of stuff working in the favor of buying apartments right now? I personally think we're at the bottom of the apartment market right now in Melbourne. Right now, today, in August, it's the bottom of the market. August, September will be seen as the bottom, okay? Mark my words, it's on YouTube. So we can see the volume. This is in Sydney, for example, and it's across Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane are very much, in sync with one another, right? This is Melbourne. You can see the peak of releases of apartments. Now it's very low because consumer sentiment is very low, and everything else because of all the things that I mentioned. So we're at the bottom somewhere here, okay? And we're here somewhere, and this is be the bottom of the market. The average is 3,300 apartments released over 10 years. We're pretty much a fraction of the volume that we have. Now remember, it's very difficult to build a house or a townhouse in Melbourne, for example. Okay, you've got to rip something down. There's no more land in Melbourne. It's a very good suburb that's close to the city, very good schools, very good shopping, and there's a lot of demand. Everyone would love to live in Melbourne. It's a very good suburb, at least top 20 suburb in Melbourne out of the 420 odd suburbs. So apartments are easier to build because you can always go on top of structures, or you can demolish the structure and go multiple levels, okay? So this is why in Melbourne, 3-to-1 ratio, for most people, it's either 660, I'll get a 2-bedder, and then I'll have all the functionality and accessibility of Melbourne, the parks, the schools, the shopping, or I won't live in Melbourne at all. But the crazy thing is that I don't understand why people live in Dandenong in apartments. It's just insanity. Like for 660, you can live in Melbourne. Like, do you know that Melbourne is there? Have you been to Melbourne? It's a suburb. You should go. It's really good. Like, people don't get stabbed. There's no shootings. There's no idiots in $2,000 Commodores running around doing burnouts. Just normal people that just work, pay taxes, have a coffee now and then, go to the gym. Try it out. You might enjoy it. And this is Brisbane. Same thing. Brisbane has been flat for a long time. It has a smaller economy, smaller industry for apartments. By the way, don't worry, I'm not apologising to people in Dandenong. they're never going to watch this video. Do you think that they watch videos on investing? No one invests in Dandenong, okay? They just, there's no chance of them ever watching this video. They're going to watch videos of a cat flushing a toilet or a car doing burnouts or some stupid thing on YouTube. They're never going to watch a video about investing. They're going to go, oh, I think today between, doing burnouts and home invasions, I'm going to watch a video about property investing. And then I will do another one later on about the property trading options on the American Stock Exchange. Yeah, like that's going to happen. So floor plans. This is also important. If you're buying one-bedroom apartments and you have to buy one, let's say you're a single person, you're out of uni, you don't want to rent, you want to get your foot in the door, and you know that two better is better than one, but you still can only afford one better, cool, no problem, I get it. And there are people like that. So this is kind of a blueprint. So one-bedroom apartment should be minimum 50 square meters internal plus the balcony, not including a balcony. Therefore, you've got the lending restrictions. If it's 48, 49 square meters, don't buy it. It has to be 50 square meters. That's the cutoff for lenders, plus the balcony. Must have a car park. Never buy a one-bedder without a car park. If it does have not a car park, you have to have the option to buy a car park in the future. So you can save up a bit of money, or when you get growth, refinance and get the car park. You have to get a car park. Without a car park, its resale value is extremely limited, okay? Storage cage also is an option. People to have bikes, so if you can get a storage cage purchased in the complex, you want to have that as well. No more than 50 apartments in the project, ideally. Now, sometimes you have to go to larger ones, but ideally I'm saying if you have a choice, less than 50 isn't considered high density by lenders. More than 50 is considered high density. Master bedroom must be minimum 3.5 to 3 meters with windows. Never go for one bedders where there's no natural light coming into the bedroom, okay? No one wants to buy those properties. And 3.5 meters, so you can at least have a king single bed. You can just lay flat, so it's not on an angle like that, okay? 3x3 just doesn't work, guys. You got to be able to walk around your bed. Okay? It's a good thing. Walking inside the bedroom is good. Write that down. Separate kitchen and dining area. Now, 60 squares to 70 squares is optimal with built-in walk-through robes and en-suites, which is what you want. Study nook is also a huge advantage. There's a lot of one-bedders that I've sold where it's one bedroom plus a study nook plus a massive walk-through robe and an en-suite. I'll show you some of the plans. Main bedroom must have windows, lots of natural light, 10 square meter balcony or terrace area. So for example, this is a very bad plan for one bedders. If you ever see this, now this is 55 square meters. Internal is 44.4 square meters with an external 11 square meter balcony. The balcony is fine. That's cool, but that's too small for the inside. The problem is you come in, you've got all this dead space there, right? And the bedroom has no natural light. So it has light coming in from here, but there's not natural light inside the room itself. So it's always going to be very dark. This is fine. It's a New York style kitchen. I get it. And the balcony is not a problem. It's just that this is a really bad plan. This is very good. So once again, see, internal is 43.5 square meters. I've chosen a property that is inferior in size to the first one, just to show you the difference between good layouts and bad layouts. And external 16.5. So you have one large courtyard. You've got your bedroom. You can slide the doors open. You've got natural light. This is obviously on the ground floor. You got your ensuite shower. And then you have open plan, no dead space. See, because you've got no dead space, every square meter is being utilized in this property. You have more functional space in this property compared to this property. This whole corridor here is dead space, right? You've literally every meter here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters of dead space. So in fact, even though this is 44, okay, and this one is 43, this one is actually superior in terms of functional and usable space. Because a corridor, what are you going to do in the corridor? Put a painting up maybe. You can't put any furniture there. You can't use a corridor for anything. So be aware of space, and these are the superior ones. They're always courtyards, ground floor, with plenty of natural light. This is a really good one here, which is 1 bedroom, 1.5 bathroom. The idea is if you want to have a bathroom for the guests, so you don't use your private ensuite, because your private ensuite is probably going to be a disaster zone. Okay, you don't want people going into your private ensuite toilet. You want to have a separate toilet for guests. So this is a really good layout. Once again, you enter, no dead space, okay, no corridors. You've got a laundry separate and a toilet, so which is really good. Maybe the negative should be I would have done it the opposite. I'll put the laundry there and the toilet here, so they don't need to go through your laundry and see all your dirty underwear everywhere. Okay. Kitchen's good. It's got an island bench top. If you can get an island bench top, doesn't matter how small, it doubles as a breakfast table for the mornings. That's a really good use of space. Then you've got open plan living, kitchen. So you got the living area here, kitchen area there, so the separation of living areas. You've got a massive courtyard. The courtyard here is 21 square meters, which is huge, right? Then you got a single bedroom, and then you got an ensuite with a double shower. That is a really good layout for a one-bedroom apartment. Very good. That ticks all the boxes. Internal is 71 square meters. 50 square meters internal, total area 71 square meters, 21 square meters external. So that's a perfectly functioning one-bedroom apartment. So if you are targeting one-bedders, be aware of functioning space versus non-functioning space, dead space versus usable space. This is something. This is an awesome one-bedder, which is internal 61 square meters, external 6 square meters. So you come in, you've got a study nook with built-in cabinetry. Then you got a bathroom ensuite. The only thing is you haven't got a separate toilet. If I could improve this property, there'd be a separate toilet for the guests. You've got a large kitchen island, which is excellent. Dining and living area separate. And the balcony. And then you got the master bedroom with plenty of light coming in from the balcony and from windows from the side. That's a really good one-bedroom property. If I could improve it anyway, I'll just put another little toilet somewhere. But then you're paying for it, in terms of square meters. So if you're a person that doesn't really entertain very often, this would be a perfect plan. If you're a person that does entertain, you have friends over for dinners and people coming over to your place, then probably I would recommend 1.5 bathrooms, having a separate toilet area. 2-bedroom apartment should be a minimum of 65 square meters internal. You can't really put 2 bedrooms in anything less. Otherwise, the bedrooms will be too small and dysfunctional. 2 bathrooms plus powder room. So 2.5 bathrooms is ideal, not 1.5. Must have a car park. Ideally, you want to have a car park with the option of buying a second car park down the track. Car parks usually in Melbourne cost between $35,000 to $55,000, depending on the building and the area and the postcode. Storage cage is a must. You have to have a storage cage for, things like bikes, outdoor furniture. It could be camping contents if you're into camping. It could be all sorts of stuff. Suitcases. No more than 50 apartments, so lower density, so there's no lending restriction. Master bedroom must be 3.5 by 4 meters, so you can have a king-size bed in there. You must be able to put a king-size bed in the master bedroom and actually walk around, okay? So it's not just kind of, it's not sitting like this on an angle, okay? Separate kitchen and dining area. 70 square meters to 95 square meters is optional with built-in walk-through robes and ensuite. Study nook is a huge advantage. Main bedroom must have windows and lots of natural light. And the balcony should be at least 15 square meters plus. Okay, so larger balconies, larger living areas. So for example, this is not a good plan. Okay, what we have here is, so we got 57 square meters internal. External is fantastic, 30 square meters. It wraps around the whole place. It's a courtyard. But have a look, you walk in, all this dead space, then you got a bedroom. No natural light apart from natural light from here. Not a lot of natural light. You've got a bathroom here, which is okay, but it's not really an ensuite. You've got to walk at night through here, which is not ideal. You've got another bedroom here with no bathroom, and then you've got open plan living and kitchen area. I would say that's a bad 2-bedroom apartment. That's pretty much as bad as you can get it, This is a very good one, okay? So here what you have is, you have internal, 80 square meters. You see you've got a bedroom here with plenty of light. You've got a massive courtyard. It could be a balcony or a courtyard, doesn't make a difference, as long as you've got natural light coming in. You come in, you've got your own private ensuite with a shower area and plenty of natural light. You've got a study nook as well, so you can do your Zoom calls over here. You can work. You've got a kitchen, island, bench top, fantastic. Open plan living area, no dead space. You come in, you're straight inside the property. There's no corridors, no dead space. Then you got another bedroom with sliding doors onto a little paved area or a little balcony with steps and then the courtyard. And then you've got another laundry slash ensuite with a double shower. Now, the good thing about this is that both bedrooms are away from each other. So you could put locks on these doors and rent them out to two individual people. Or one person could sublease the other room to another person. This is the best two-bedroom floor plan you can aim for. It ticks all the boxes. So very different, right? It's not about the square meters, guys. This one is 88 square meters. This one's 135 square meters, but if you look at the internal, this is 80 square meters. Internal is 57 square meters. The difference is the bathrooms and the dead space, okay? Because that's a huge external area. I mean, 55 square meters near the external area. You just don't see them very often. So what I do with apartments, guys, if you're interested in buying one of these, and I'll show you some of the projects coming up, I cherry pick the best ones out of each project. And out of a project of 40 or 50 or 10, there could be one or two that are the best design in terms of floor plan layout, light, so aspect, north facing is the best in Melbourne, and then the rest go to local market. I'm like the John West of the tuna world, okay? So I'm the John West that turns up at the pier at 3 a.m. when the fisherman comes in. The rest is the tuna that John West rejected. This is probably one of the best two-bedders that I've ever seen. I actually sold this development in Glen Iris, kind of Burke Road and Malvern Road, called Vivid. And check out this place is crazy good. Walk in, you've got a bathroom and a laundry, which is cool. A little bit of dead space, okay? Bedroom, walk-in robe, ensuite, massive amount of lights. These are sliders, and then you've got a terrace area that is 87 square meters, which is like another apartment, okay, with views overlooking the eastern suburbs. So just, if you know this, this is a development on Konrad, Burke and Malvern Road on the hill overlooking the eastern suburbs. Then you've got another two-bedroom. The thing that's missing here is it should have an ensuite, but you can't have everything, okay? You've got an ensuite here, which is fair enough, but the master's perfect, okay? Kitchen, island, bench top, and then you got a living area and a dining area, and you got this massive amounts of windows for light. I mean, it's just crazy good. I mean, you can have massive parties on this balcony, on this terrace. Barbecue, table, multiple tables, you know. Fantastic for a two-bedder. And it was actually just a normal price because the balcony was there because the building graduated in. So it was just a design function. It wasn't that someone wanted a specific balcony that size. Normally these balconies this size are associated with penthouses, not standard two-bedroom apartments. So where am I sourcing right now? Where are the best suburbs to invest in right now in Melbourne? This is for only for townhouses and detached houses. Remember, for apartments, you've got to go back to a 3-to-1 ratio. Okay, so this list here isn't for apartments, it's only for townhouses and detached houses. And by the way, this is from the December quarter 2021, looking back for 12 months, because we're looking back always at the data. And like I said in my video before COVID, I was telling people these are the areas that are going to boom. People laughing at me. Economists are saying, oh yeah, how is it going to boom, Konrad? The whole country will be in lockdown. Unemployment's going to be high. Not every time the economy goes into a recession or a lockdown is every market affected. People do different things for different reasons. There's extreme market fragmentation in Melbourne, like in Sydney. The rich are getting richer, guys. The poor are getting poorer, and the middle class is getting squeezed. And it's getting squeezed based on property ownership. So it's time to make a decision. Which team do you want to belong to? So these are the best areas. BlackRock. Now this is growth for 12 months. December quarter 21. So this is growth in 21. Now we're in 22 now, and I'll show you where we are in terms of property cycles in the next video. The best time to buy property, guys, is always at the bottom of the market, by the way. When the growth has happened, you either have property and you've made the money, or you just haven't got it and you're looking at it going, I wish I had it, you know. BlackRock, 30% growth. Mentone, 29.6. Frankston South, 29.4. Mordialloc, 25.7. Albert Park, 24.1. Carrum, 19.8. Parkdale, 19.7. Balmoral, 19.2. Balmoral is always good to buy, like Albert Park. You just buy whatever's happening. Even if you're overpaying, it's such a tightly held community in Balmoral and Albert Park. To get the right property, I'd rather overpay 10% than go to Dandenong and get a 30% discount. It's just, there's no comparison, guys. Remember, you want to build your portfolio with Rolexes, not Seikos. Nothing happens with Seiko. It just devalues from the moment you buy it. I'm not saying that Dandenong devalues. I'm just saying it stagnates and there's more pressure on blue chip areas than areas where there's predominantly a blue collar demographic. Seaford, I wouldn't touch. 18.5. I just don't like Seaford, guys. Don't invest in Seaford. Forget about Seaford. Even on the riverfront, beachfront properties, they never do well. Okay, so you stop at Karen, and then you go to Frankston South. Just skip over that middle gap. Okay. I'm not saying don't ring me if you're from Seaford. Oh, we bought a house in Seaford. I don't care. I never have. Okay? People ring me. Oh, we bought a St Kilda 16.9. St Kilda's always good to buy. Sandringham 16.9. Aspendale. Now remember, some of these suburbs have more pressure. Like Sandy's already 2.1 million. So 16% on Sandy is very different than Bobilak for 1.2. Okay? There's only so much a suburb can grow based on income demographics in the suburb. So this is the areas that I'm sourcing in right now. I'll show you some of the projects. If you're interested in buying any of these projects or working with me personally to build your property portfolio, you can make a time to see me. We can chat on Zoom and I can do a plan for you and then basically shortlist some really good projects for you. So this is what I'm doing all the time. I'm just sourcing properties out there in the Melbourne property market for private investors. This is one example of a really good project in Bobilak. Bobilak has always been the ugly duckling of the Bayside. It's always the cheapest suburb. You know, you had the old weatherboard houses with the old guy that's 80 in there sitting, having his coffee every morning, you know. And then suddenly everyone went, crap, it's got all the shops, you got the river, and now it's getting all redeveloped. Now, Aspendale has gone crazy. There was a property sold in Aspendale 3 weeks ago for $13 million, waterfront. Go and check it out on realestate.com. Not 1.3 million, $13 million. I don't understand why you buy Aspendale for $13 million, but they did. Absolute waterfront, so 2,000 square metre block with the sand being your backyard. So location, magic location, okay? But for 13, I'll buy Brighton personally or Hawthorne or Toorak. I wouldn't go to Aspendale. But if you love the beach so much, hey, who am I to judge, right? Everyone's different. I'm just saying. Bobilak townhouses, 3 and 4 bedrooms, very good design, architecturally designed. And look, it's a great area. You got the pier, you got the Doyle's restaurant, you got the pier hotel, shops everywhere, Aldi, Coles. That whole shopping precinct in Bobilak has really come up in the last few years. These are all, in terms of the 3 and 4 bedroom properties, and they're about $1 million, from $995 up to $1,090,000. They're very good. They rent very quickly when they're completed. We've done a lot of stuff in Bobilak over the years. You can't go wrong. Is it the best suburbs in the Bayside? No. It's good though. It's good. Chelsea, fantastic suburb. New project I've just released at the Property Portfolio Accelerator Summit, which was a couple of weeks ago. This property here is fantastic. It's on the beach side of the highway, so you're literally 30, 40 metres from sand. So you guys probably don't know this if you're from interstate, but Melbourne Bayside is cut in half by a train line, especially here from kind of Balmoral. It comes in, and then it goes all the way. So a lot of the suburbs here, especially you've got Balmoral, you've got Parkdale, Aspendale, Edithvale, Chelsea, Bond Beach. They're really 2 suburbs in one because RP data captures them as the entire suburb, but they're really cut in half by a train line. So the people that buy on the beach side of the highway, which is a very small amount of properties, you can see how small the land is, they're very different people demographically from the people that live over here, which is much cheaper. And this is why it's very difficult to read RP data reports on Aspendale, Edithvale, Chelsea, because you're always reading, Aspendale does 6% per annum. No, it doesn't. The beach side does 12. The other side does 5, and that's why you're getting 6 and 7 in between. So you got to differentiate between different parts of a suburb if there's something significant going through the suburb, like a train line or a massive highway or a freeway. It could be really, you can't just merge all the data together and assume for the best. This is a very good development of 8 architecturally designed townhouses off the plan. This is a long-term settlement. It will take 2 years for this to complete. It's this developer has to do another project beforehand. And the good thing about this is on the top level, you have beautiful rooftop terraces, virtually the whole footprint of the townhouse overlooking the ocean, which is what really Melbourne is priced by. By the way, Sydney has a lot of more expensive suburbs because you have hills in Sydney overlooking the Darling Harbour and the ocean, right? In Melbourne's very flat, guys. Melbourne's just like literally like that. If you're one house set back from the frontage, you can't see the beach. So we've only got Beach Road and the Golden Mile for absolute waterfront properties, okay? And then the west, Altona Beach and Williamstown. So these are really good properties, architecturally designed, beautiful finishes. They're all 2-bedders, 1 garage, designed for the professional couple with no children or the single person that just wants to live in the area, probably works in the city, probably works more from home now. So they use 1 room to sleep in, 1 room for Zoom calls, and they want to surf and they want to hit the beaches. And these beaches, by the way, are the best beaches in Melbourne, because let's face it, Aspendale is where the beaches really start. Edithvale, Chelsea, Bond Beach, and then Seaford's a fantastic beach. And then really the best beaches are the back beaches of Sorrento in Melbourne. Kings Beach is one of the best beaches. Brighton Beach, rubbish. St Kilda, you're walking around in syringes, okay? So, you know, why would you go to St Kilda Beach? It's a disaster. I used to live in St Kilda. I love the suburb, just wouldn't walk around barefooted on the sand there with all the heroin addicts. So this is the design, very good design. So they're all pretty much a mirror image of each other. So this is unit number 2, and you have ground floor 56.5 square meters, first floor 55.1, second is 34.6, and the balcony is 6 square meters. So 152 square meters of actual livable functioning space. So you have the driveway, you have a single car garage, entry, you've got storage and laundry under the stairs. The bins are inside the garage, master bedroom, 3.82 by 3.5 with an ensuite. And this could also be a Zoom room. And then you've got a tiny little courtyard, just enough just to go out, open the windows and have a coffee or a cigarette if you're still smoking. Then you have on the first floor, open plan living, another bedroom with an ensuite, open plan living, kitchen, island, bench top, dining, and a balcony. And then on the second floor, the whole rooftop is a roof deck, 5.9 meters by 5.5, overlooking the ocean. So basically, because you haven't got a backyard, you can sit on top of your roof of your townhouse with a barbecue overlooking the ocean, which is amazing. And this is why this product is so unique. You're not going to see a lot of these properties ever available in Melbourne that close to the water for $1,065,000. So, all these other ones are a mirror image of each other, as you can see, excluding the back one, which has now been sold, which had a little bit of a courtyard wrapped around it. So usually the front and the back go first, which happened in this instance as well. And that went for $1.145 million. The number 1 is being held by the developer. So if you're interested in these properties here, just get in contact with me and I'll send you the floor plans, contracts, Section 32, rent appraisals, anything you like. This is another project that I've sourced in Mornington, which is a kind of a regional town outside of Melbourne, but it's been booming since the lockdowns. And Mornington, by the way, has always done well. It's been a coastal town that people always visit from Melbourne. It's got its own little economy. I've always sourced Mornington even before the lockdown happened, before COVID-19. It's just a great area, great part of Victoria. It's a coastal town. And by the way, this area, new data from Real Estate Institute of Victoria showed Mornington Peninsula was a home to top 3 suburbs annual median price house growth. The area is booming because now people don't need to travel to the city all the time. They can work from home. And so a lot of people are buying further out, 1 hour from Melbourne, on the beach, and going to the city once a month, if that. It's all on Zoom now and Meets. You can see there, Rye took the price growth beacon, 48% growth. It's crazy. Now at 1.195 million. And then you got Mount Martha, 34% growth, and Rosebud, 32% growth to 850. Which is crazy when you think about it. So the area is going really well, double digits, very good property. You can see there Mornington in terms of capital growth. I mean, it's off the charts. 12 months for houses, 18.1, 47% for 3 years, and 5 years, 44%. Now, we look at the 10-year average, 8.44%, which is what I do all the cash flow analysis on, 8%. That's what I do. Remember, property is a long-term game. Yes, we had COVID-19. Yes, it's changed the game. People are working longer from home. But is that going to continue in every industry? Because a lot of industries now are getting people to come back to the office. So some people are actually going back and buying into those suburbs they sold in originally. I'm not saying everyone's doing it, but I'm saying you got to look at property as long-term average growth, not short-term. There's the project there. This is Main Street, which is where all the restaurants and cafes are. And this is the beach, obviously. It's a beautiful area. If you live in Melbourne, if you've never been down there, I encourage you to go there on Saturday. Get a really good pub meal at the Grand Hotel on Main Street or any of the cafes or restaurants. Amazing seafood. Great project, architectural design. $695,000 to $710,000 for the back one. Once again, great location, much cheaper than in Melbourne because you have lower land costs, effectively. So really good design. Once again, so this is Main Street, and this is the actual beach in Mornington. Very pretty. If you haven't been there, definitely worthwhile. You can spend a whole day there quite easily. I've been to that beach many times with my wife and my child. It's just a great part of Victoria to visit. And this is exactly what they look like. I mean, it's just amazing beaches. In terms of the layout, once again, we're targeting the young urban professional couple or single person. Always remember, guys, you never want a family living in your investment property. The most damaged properties are 4x2, which is damaged by a family with 3 kids, 2 cats and a dog. They're inside your property all the time. They're using your kitchen. They're damaging everything. Couples that are professional, they live in 2-bedroom townhouses, virtually eat Uber every day, or they go out all the time. They got money. So you want to buy a property. You can't discriminate, by the way. It's not about discriminating. It's about buying properties that are non-conducive for families. So it's just a vehicle, guys. It's a vehicle to make your money, and you don't want any headaches with your vehicle. You don't want usage of your vehicle. You want minimum usage. The best thing is to get a property where the tenant never moves in, just pays you rent, which I haven't worked out yet how to do that. Unit number 1, they're all pretty much the same. Single car garage, master bedroom, toilet downstairs, and then you have another bedroom with an ensuite, open plan living, dining, and a balcony. 103 square meters in terms of internal area. So if you're interested in any of these, they're all the same, except the front and the back one. By all means, just get in contact with me and I'll go through the project with you. So $695, rent is $480 to $520 a week, council rate's $1,800, owners corporation $1,400. They're cash flow positive, by the way. So if you look at one of these properties for $695 with that rental, this is from BMT, and this is a basic, and we've made a number of assumptions here, but you've got annual income of $30,160, expenses of $36,540. You've got a loss of $6,380 or 123 per week. And then you have your refund of your tax, assuming 37% tax rate. So it's cash flow negative by $77 per week without depreciation. If you add depreciation into it, which of course you would, why wouldn't you? You're an investor. In that example, you have annual income of $30,000, $36,540 is your expenses. Loss before depreciation is 123 per week or 6,380 per year. Depreciation is 12,437, which means you get a tax deduction of 18,817 plus the refund. It's $11 a week cash flow positive. So if you're earning just a basic amount of money to qualify for that loan, which is about 80, 90 grand per year, maybe 100, depending on the lender, this will be cash flow positive by $11 a week for you. So it's literally you sell the property and you're better off net $11 in your pocket per week. This is Port Melbourne, great suburb. This is a completed townhouse, $1.425 million. Never been lived in. The developer was holding on to 2 of them, number 2 and 3. Number 2 sold, leased for $900 a week very quickly. There's a critical shortage of properties in Port Melbourne for rental. These are brand new townhouses, so you get full depreciation on fixtures and fittings and the building. Once again, architectural design, stunning properties. Look, Port Melbourne, always in the top 10, 20 suburb in terms of capital growth. You just can't go wrong with Port Melbourne. If you build your whole portfolio with Port Melbourne, Albert Park and St Kilda, you'll do well. You know, it's just one of those iconic suburbs in Melbourne. You can see the level of fixtures and fittings, very beachy feel as well for this property. They're the beaches in Port Melbourne. So Look, they're not the best beaches because they are contaminated. It's not the cleanest beach, but it's a beautiful beach aesthetically to look at and run along. I wouldn't actually go bathing in Port Melbourne or Albert Park or Middle Park. There's just too much contamination coming from the dockyard, the shipping yards just around there. So there's a lot of oil spills and chemicals in that water. In terms of, I'm just keeping it real. People are shocked sometimes. I can't believe he said that. But this is the reality. I live here. You want me to tell you the truth or you want me to bullshit you? Townhouse number 3. You come in, you have a study nook, which could be a Zoom room with a powder room, stairs to go up, laundry. Then you have stairs, open plan kitchen with an island bench top, dining, living area. Then you got 2 bedrooms with a common ensuite, built-in robes. And then you got the master bedroom on top with a balcony, double ensuite with massive built-in robes. Amazing design, once again catering for single person, couple with no children, professional couple with 1 child. You know, it covers pretty much all the areas. Capital growth in Port Melbourne, fantastic. 12 months has been 6.57. That's because prices went down. The top end, people took properties off the market. There's properties in Port Melbourne that are sold for $7, $8, $9 million. So it's a very expensive suburb. 3 years, 38% growth. 5 years, 28.64. 10 years, 8.14. So when we do cash flow analysis, it's 8% growth over 10 years. Always go conservative, guys, when you're doing your cash flow analysis. Go conservative, worst case scenario, and expect the best. Okay? But do the numbers on the most conservative numbers, because then you won't be disappointed, you know? Keep it real. So this property here, for the right person, is $9 cash flow positive per week with depreciation, which is fantastic. So it pays for itself. Now, if you like any of those properties, definitely be in contact with me and I can go through the process with you. Now, what's the next step? I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I hope I gave you some direction about apartments, which ones to stay away from, which ones to target, which areas to target. And that's really what the outcome of this video is, just to give you the right guidance so to make sure you don't make mistakes. You don't end up buying Docklands or South Bank or buying a house and landing Point Cook and then having no growth. Remember, there are 4 types of investors. There's the analytical compulsive information gatherer. These are the engineering people that never do anything. They're on 180,000 per week and they have no investments and they keep paying 60 grand a year in tax. And they're never going to buy property. Market's down now, they won't buy property. Market's up, never buy property. They just keep watching the market go up and down and they never jump in. And there's nothing anyone can do about it, okay? There's also the get rich quick gambler, which I'm concerned about. And they'll just buy anything except for blue chip stock because it's too expensive. Oh, there's a mining town here. Yeah, there's a subdivision in Bulgaria. Let's go there. Maybe I'll get some money in Bulgaria. Here, that's the hottest market. These people scare me because they're always investing in whatever the hottest flavor of the month is. So currently it will be NFTs and Bitcoin and whatever the latest thing is they're in, and they virtually never make any money. They just go from one train wreck to another. The comfort zone investor are people that buy properties within 3 or 4 k's of where they live. And they end up getting results, but they never really create any financial freedom. They end up buying a house. They live in Moorabbin in a 4-bedroom house. They buy another house in Cheltenham or Moorabbin, 4-bedroom, roughly for what they live in, roughly what they spend on their house. It's better than nothing, but it doesn't really get them to any kind of closer to getting passive income. And then there's a savvy, educated investor, which is the clients I want to deal with, who know that they don't know everything and they need a team behind them and they need guidance and they need to focus on blue chip properties in blue chip areas with high income demographics with limited stock to get capital growth and rental income. They're the ones that succeed. And if you're one of those, feel free to book in a consultation with me. If you get rich quick gambler, do not book a time with me. So what we do in the consultation, it's a 60-minute free consultation on Zoom. We go through an idea and a plan and action. And planning is everything, guys. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You can't just hope and wish for the best, because if you do, you're going to end up dead broke at 65. Maybe one house paid off, so asset rich, cash flow poor with 150 grand in your super. Most people spend their whole life doing this, wasting all this time to get from A to B. And remember, you can always get more money. You can't get more time. Time is a resource that is always finite. It's always running out. So what I do is I get you from A to B with the least amount of effort, fastest possible path. So in that hour, you walk away with a real clear understanding of the strategies that are relevant to you, the amount of tax that you're paying, and your risk profile. You also get an introduction to my whole team, my mortgage broker, my accountant, my financial planner, the whole team I'll personally introduce you to, and we get you pre-qualified, structured, and market ready. Now, it's just worth to get the numbers and the phone numbers for these guys to book in the actual the consultation. You get a real strategy, and it's paint by the numbers. There's literally, you cannot go wrong. We've done this hundreds of times, guys. I would say in the thousands of times, because I've done over 1,000 settlements now with my lawyer through my clients. And this is going back not only 9 years in this company, but when I was a mortgage broker, right back when I was doing other things with lending. So, we've got a whole history of setting up investors in Melbourne. How do you qualify? You have to have the ability to borrow at least $750,000. I don't have anything under 700,000, guys. And we'll never have anything under 700,000. That's the cutoff. So for a single person, you need to be on 95 roughly. You need to have about 112,000 in equity or cash. So you can settle a $700,000 property, which I have plenty of, plenty of choice. If you're a couple, you'll need one person on 80, another one on 60. So you need to be on that 140 with 112,000 in equity or cash or accessible funds so you can become market ready. The more the better, obviously, because then you can target properties that are in better suburbs. Remember, 80% of the growth is a suburb, 20% is the type of dwelling. So all you got to do, guys, if you're interested, if you've been to a live event, just fill out this form, tick the box, and send it to me, or you can email me directly, konrad@investorsprime.com.au, just requesting a complimentary free 60-minute strategy session with myself. That's all you got to do. Just put a headline, your mobile number, and your email address, and I'll be in contact with you and I'll book you in. There's only so many appointments I can do in a month because I do have existing clients, so there is a bit of a wait to see me, but definitely if you're interested in building wealth, hey, this is the best option for you if you want to buy Melbourne specifically. That's it, guys. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll plan to do more videos in the future. Thank you very much. This is Konrad, and I'll see you on the inside.